Hi guys, I always get asked questions about how I make my atta for my roti. So this is how I make my chapatti dough, for those that don't understand Punjabi. I don't really measure anything, I eyeball it. I've just got some standard chapatti flour and using the dough hook, so I'm using the dough hook, this one, on my mixer. I never make it by hand, ever. I'm using boiling hot water and I'm on a steady, slow speed. I'm just going to add this water until it forms a dough. So, as you can see, it's reached a stage now where it's formed a dough, right? Like my dough a bit firm. Anyway, I'm just going to keep mixing it because you want to sort of develop the dough by leaving it on a slow, sort of medium slow speed and kneading the dough essentially for at least sort of half an hour before I make my roti. See, I've made the dough now. You can see it's slightly sticky, but not too sticky. And as it cools, what happens is the hot water makes it form a bit of a crust. Actually, even if you use like lukewarm water, it will form a bit of a crust. I don't add any oil or any salt or anything like that. You can do if you want. You can easily like manipulate the dough. As you can see, that atta's just been at room temperature and it's been perfectly fine. Look how soft it is, and it's not sticky because it's cooled down. It's still got a softness to it though. So I'm just gonna take a little piece off, turn up the bottom. So dust your surface to start with, right? Sprinkle atta. Make sure you've got enough atta on your hands or your fingers, and then push the dough down and drag it, like I showed you yesterday, into the middle, like that. And whilst you're dragging it into the middle, you're basically creating the round shape for the roti. This is where the shape starts. Once you've got the bottom there, you put it on your hand and you cup it. When you cup it like this, it helps, and you rotate it within that, it helps to form a round circle. If you look at it from that angle, that is a perfect circle. Now I'll drop it into my atta just to cover it so that it doesn't get too sticky. Right, then push it down with your hand, and then I'm using my thumb and index finger just to make sure that I'm pressing the edges out so they're absolutely thin. So we don't want fat edges because it makes it a very doughy roti. We like them nice and thin. Now, covered fully in flour. How do you avoid it sticking to the rolling pin? Well, the only way to avoid it is to ensure that you keep turning it and you've got enough flour on it. We don't want an excess amount of flour because an excess amount of flour will mean that the roti is too dry. So as I'm pushing it away from me, right, you saw it stick to the rolling pin then. If I push it upwards and pull it down and then start rotating the way that I'm doing this, it starts rotating the roti. Now, so you need to ensure that you put it on even pressure all the way around, and with your hands, because your hands are positioned at the end of the rolling pin, you can put the most pressure on the sides, and what happens is it makes the roti thinner on the sides. If you feel it sticking, bring the atta, the rest of the flour around it, into the middle, turn it over, coat it, and keep going. So I'm doing it very lightly. If you notice your roti sticking, you're rolling it out too heavily. So you need to ensure you're doing it lightly. Okay. So keep doing it, and as you can see, I keep turning my roti because for me, it gets too sticky as well. So I don't put any more atta on, I'm just using the excess atta that's already on the worktop to rotate my roti and ensure it doesn't stick. Now, slapping the roti on your hands as you rotate it. So as you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm rotating the roti. This removes excess flour, dry flour, from the roti surface. As it does that, it also stretches the dough out and it gives you a thinner roti. By doing this, you're stretching it out. Once you've slapped your roti about a bit, you place it on a hot cover, like so. And what I do is I ensure that the full roti is touching the cover, right? So if you press it down without burning yourself, you know that it's going to cook properly. Once you see these little bubbles form, you need to flip it over and you can see the roti has started to change colour. Now wherever I see the raw spots, that's where I press down to ensure that the other side cooks through in those exact areas. I'm going to flip it again. And now, whilst it's still a little bit raw, I'm going to allow the naked flame to cook it, but not for too long, because what happens if you leave it on for too long is it dries it out. And this process is what allows the roti to fluff up, because the hot water that we put in this is basically turning into steam inside the dough as it cooks. Oh, there you go. I've got a little bit of a raw patch in the middle there. I'm just going to put that on. And then, that's ready to take off.